Right there, Joseph.
Joseph Walken, frontstretch.com. It's a little bit of a tough question. 17 years since the day your dad passed away. Do you get chills entering the track, and do you have anything special you're doing to honor his memory this weekend?
I don't have anything nothing. It doesn't come to. I don't have this instinct to do anything like that. Excuse me. The one thing that I feel is so when he passed away here, I had like two choices. I could hate this place for it, or it could become even more special to me, and I could become even more connected to it because of that circumstance. And so I chose to embrace the track more. I knew how special this place was to my dad, and so it's even it's more meaningful to me personally, maybe than to a lot of the other competitors as as the cornerstone of our series and birthplace of speed and all the things, the Great American Race. But I made peace with this place a long time ago with what happened, and decided to remember this as the place where he lost his life, and that's to me a positive, not a negative. I didn't want to feel any negative feelings when I came here, because I love Daytona, love this track, and I love the history. I want to be rooted in this sport, and that means I want to be at Daytona when they race here. And so that was the choice I made a long time ago, and feel very comfortable here. And I think I try to make him proud in everything I do, but I don't particularly feel prodded along, or I don't feel like an instinct to do anything to honor him. But his fans do that, on a pretty regular basis. They love to talk about him and remember him, and so you hear about him everywhere you go. As I've been around the track the last couple days, we had a lot of conversations about Dad already. So it's always good.
George?
Yeah, Dale over here. George Diaz, Orlando Sentinel. You're still obviously very much engaged in the race and in speed weeks, but have you had a little bit of time to reflect what it's like not to be here as a competitor, as a driver after all these years?
Yeah, there's times when you're watching the race or you're maybe walking through the garage, or you go in the hall. There's moments where I see things I'm going to miss, and things that I enjoyed being a part of. There's a lot of things though too. You're reminded of things you won't miss. The pressure of performance. You put a lot of pressure on yourself. There's a lot of pressure from a lot of expectation coming from outside. That's for every driver. I'm not saying that my pressure level was any different than anyone else. But as a driver, you come here and you're like, oh man, I got to do good. I don't want to come out of here disappointed. You live that every minute. You can't escape that, the weight of that. And I didn't think it was a big deal till I got out from under it, and now I'm feeling. I feel like it's fun to be here and just enjoy, just enjoy what's happening. But there are times when you get caught, sort of thinking about some of the funner parts of it and the funner things you experience when you're in the heat of the battle. And I'm sure during the race while we're watching along, and I'll be envious of Alex and some of the situations he finds himself in, and listening to him communicate with Greg, and have such a close relationship with my crew chief, Greg, and Steve and Tony Jr. We all became close in an effort to perform as well as we could, and so I'll be envious of that communication and working with your guys in the heat of the moment and practice in the race and all those things. But I don't have anything else really to say about it, and I think as the season goes on, I'll have a lot more understanding of exactly how the transition is going and how I feel about it. But so far, it's not been that difficult, and certainly no second thoughts. But I do love driving cars, and I think I always will. You never you never wake up one day and go, yeah, I don't feel like driving. You know, I don't have that. I don't have that. You know, urge inside me to compete. I think that'll always be there.
Okay, let's go to Matt and then Bob.
Matt Weaver, AutoWeek.com. Dale, could you ever foresee a scenario to where once you get out of the car, you're finding yourself potentially getting called to the NASCAR hauler for things that you say as an analyst more so
Right.
than as a driver?
I'm sure. Most certainly. I think that I have a lot to learn, you know, on that side of it. I'm completely green on the analyst side, and I'm sure I'm going to bounce off the walls and make a lot of mistakes. And there's a time and a place for everything, and you know there's opportunities where NASCAR visits with the media and particular groups of the media, and that you know those are great opportunities to discuss things. And I need to understand. There's a bit of an art, I think, to being an analyst and getting people to be in a conversation without actually choosing a side, you know. And I don't know if this analogy works, but say if you got a bunch of people and you want them to go across this lake in a boat, you don't have to ride in the boat. You can still get them in there and shove it off the dock. So sometimes I don't have to wade into the weeds like I did as a driver, but I can start the conversation and certainly get people talking. And I don't really have to, you know, I don't really have to put myself in harm's way. But I, you know, and that there's a bit of an art to that, and I don't quite have that ability yet. But listening to Steve, talking to Steve last year, and watching him and Jeff and those guys, they are good at it, and they'll certainly give me some tools. And I have such a great relationship with a lot of folks in this room, and I'll be picking a lot of people's brains about how they work through the weeds, and you know, I don't want to be a guy known for stirring the pot, but I certainly have opinions just like anybody else, and there's a right way to voice them, and the delivery is key, as always. I think the delivery is really important.
Bob?
Bob Pockris, ESPN. In 2016, you came to some races and you weren't racing. What makes it so weird or different now to come to races and not be racing?
I knew I was probably coming back, or you know, I knew there was. I think in 16, there was a lot of disappointment over the situation we were in. It's a hard situation for the team to be in, for Greg and Rick and everybody, our sponsors. It was not a great. It wasn't a vacation, you know, and that wasn't as well. I think we handled it well. We got Alex an opportunity. There were some bright spots about that. We made the best of that situation. We got Alex in the car, and I think that led to what we have today with him being a full-time driver, which is incredible. But not a lot about that whole process was a lot of fun, and you know, this particular experience today, you know, there's not any baggage or any of that going on in the background, you know, behind me. So just get to come in here without any worry, I suppose.
We've got Bruce, and then we're going to get to Reed.
Dale, you start or go back to your full-time job this week. What sports are you going to do, and how many words of Korean do you know?
I know a couple Japanese words from our trip in '99 to race at the Oval, but I've got a lot to learn there as well. And I just got my schedule today. To be honest, I must have pushed the right buttons yesterday when I was in here talking about not knowing what I was going to be doing, because I got an email this morning with a little bit of an idea of the schedule. And if it's anything like the Super Bowl experience, the schedule starts out real thin, and by time the day shows up for what you have on dock, it ends up filling up, and they sort of find all kinds of other great things to get you involved in. So you know, I think that they might get me around and conversating with the four-man bobsled teams and trying to capture some content for that, and there may be a couple opportunities just for some very quick live hits on TV. But it's really, and otherwise, just I'm just going to be there watching events and having fun.
You want to try the luge
I would try any of that, to be honest with you. If they promised me that I would come out in one piece, I would definitely give it a go. But I'm sure they got something that's not quite full speed. Yeah, curling, yeah. Well, I know everybody wants to send me down the track as fast as possible and scare the hell out of me. But I've been in conversation a little bit back and forth on social media with the 4-man team and some of the guys there. So we've talked for a couple years actually about getting together and just going and having some fun in Salt Lake City, and so maybe I can do that. And if we do, we'll certainly capture it and make sure everybody gets to see how terrible at bobsledding I am. And but that would be a lot of fun, I'm sure. I don't see anything like that happening while we're there. They're there to compete. There's not an opportunity to be goofing around and taking rides like we do here in the mornings with the pace cars and so forth. So, but it'll be fun to be able to talk to those guys, sort of compare notes and compare sports.
Okay, due to time constraints, this might be our last question. Reed?
Reed Spencer with NASCAR Wire. Have you or will you say anything to Alex before he gets in the car today? And I was just curious your take on the decision not to race the other night and get experience in the draft.
Not to race
with Alex dropping to the rear.
With him, yeah. Well, that's what they decided to do with their car. I think that they were so trimmed out for qualifying with the new rules. There was so much uncertainty and instability in the cars. I think that Alex had been commenting several times to Greg as to how challenging the car was to drive just by itself. He was talking about the car being extremely loose, just running single car runs and qualifying. So anywhere from second on back in the draft was going to be a real challenge. As there got worse and worse, the further back he got, I know that he didn't want to put himself in a position where he'd tear his car up, so that's the choice they made. And I myself would have had, not to contradict their decision, but I myself would have been maybe eager to see exactly what it would have felt like. Was it going to be a real challenge? Just give me an idea, like how much do we need to work on it? Because I would be afraid that you might not get that opportunity in the practices that we would have on Friday and Saturday to get in a draft and really see. So, the Daytona 500, you got to be prepared when that race starts, and there's some real curveballs thrown at these teams with the new rules in the rear suspension. So I would want to feel prepared and like we've vetted all that out as much as possible. But again, I think we've made that choice when we've qualified on the front road and not really, if it gets to a certain point and we get 3 wide and we're kind of shuffled back a little bit, you sort of have to make some decisions to take care of the car at some point when you feel like that, a win's a bit out of your hands or maybe a little bit difficult to do. I talked to Alex yesterday. If I get a chance to see him today, I might, just wish him luck. It's a little late in the game to pile on any kind of advice, and he's got so much running through his brain. I don't even know if it'd register. So I had a chance to talk to him a little bit yesterday in a good setting that I think was able for him to absorb some of that. And so there's a lot. I'm pulling for a lot of guys, though. I love Alex. He's at the top of the list, but there's a lot of guys out there today that I want to see do well, and it's going to be fun to see how that works out.
Thank you, Dave.